Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co-host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Good evening. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, people?
This is Q Points, your favorite podcast for all things related to Black music and Black creatives. Q Points, we are dropping the needle on Black music history. Jay Ray, bro, how are you doing this week, this episode?
I'm doing good, man. I am surprisingly tired. I do not understand where it came from. This is, I guess, something. I'll be 46 in a couple of months. I guess I just need to get used to randomly feeling nappish. I don't feel like I had a strenuous day, but God is like, hey, we're going to lean with it, rock with it. But I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here to talk about this particular topic. We got some dope video, so I'm feeling really good. How are you?
I am awesome. As somebody who is just a couple years more advanced than you in age, I'm here to tell you that naps are essential. naps will change your life and will make you feel a whole lot better. But we've both been really, really busy over the past couple of weeks, and with this time change, your body's probably just trying to catch up.
Yep.
And just do the things. And but listen to your body. That's the one thing that we got to do at our big age. But yes, I'm excited about this evening's topic as well, because it's a topic very near and dear to my heart. And you all are going to experience it as well and have a really great time with Jay Ray. In the meantime, let's just make sure people know who we are and where they can find us, because we are an AMB, a Podcast Academy nominated show, so we don't need people not being able to find us. They've got to know who we are, so let them know.
Absolutely. Oh, can I mention something really dope? If you
Please.
Google us now, it does say AMB Award nominated podcast. Come through.
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, we need to let the people know right out the gate who you playing with. So listen, y'all, make sure that you should subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening to this podcast, you should subscribe wherever you're listening. If you are watching this podcast, you should subscribe wherever you are watching. And if you are like, listen, I love Q Points, I want to support Q Points, we wanted them to get an AMB in 2024, then what you need to do is you need to go ahead and subscribe to support us. And there are different levels, but at the max level, you get access to everything. You get access to our archive. You get access to everything that we have behind the scenes, and we do encourage you to do that. And if you want to leave the brothers a tip, you can absolutely do that as well. The link to that is in the description. You can also buy products. We love it when you buy products. And if you buy something, also send us a picture with the something that you buy so that you can end up on Q Points social media. But one of the things that you can, of course, do for free, like I said, 1, subscribe. 2, join our newsletter, magazine.qpoints.com. You get all the goodies, including an amazing interview that we're going to talk about later that DJ Sir Daniel did.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did do an amazing interview.
You
No,
did.
but seriously, before we get but thank you for the update and reminding the folks, J Ray. But before we get into our dive deep into our main topic, we got to talk a little bit about the foolishness that's been going on
So much
in this
foolishness.
in this world of ours. So, Jerry, let me ask you this: were you as bothered at the fact that Sierra had on a see-through outfit as everybody seems to be upset?
No, and that was so weird. Why are y'all like this? I don't understand why y'all are like this. Sierra wore a see-through dress to an award show. Jennifer Lopez did that like 20 years ago. Cher did it like 20 years before that. Are we
But
what's the big deal?
it's funny. So the words that have been thrown out is she's a mother, and she's they're supposed to be representing a family, and Russell is this, and this doesn't coincide with the values that they claim. They you know y'all are exhausting. That's what I keep saying. Is every day human beings find new ways of exhausting me. And this is one of them. The being fake mad about what somebody had on because she's a mother of three and can do that. She's got the body. And y'all are acting like Sierra didn't do the Matrix with her tongue with her stomach hanging out 20 years ago. Y'all are acting like she wasn't, doing back bends out in the desert in a bikini and some shades. Have you met Sierra? That's what y'all are acting like she wasn't popping that thing on the top of a box Chevy with Ludacris rapping in the car. Have you met Sierra? Like, really, guys, come on.
Yeah,
So,
it's I think that we're in this very interesting moment of internet noise where um a certain segment of men um and the women who love them
mhm, yep,
are really are interested in public discourse returning to something that privileges their thought process and values, which are rooted in patriarchy and misogyny, right? And
yes,
I y'all, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you in that the world is a turning and a moving, and Sierra and Russell are out here being the couple that they are. We don't know them, and they are just living their lives. And they just so happen to be living it in front of a camera. And so I think the outrage that is has been displayed in this could be better used for other things that people need to be upset about. This ain't
right.
that big a deal.
Like Jim Crow laws becoming real again in this new century of ours. People performing in drag possibly being imprisoned. You could be imprisoned for going to a drag show. There's a lot of other things to worry about, folks.
You
So
can be mad
let's
about these really the fact that in Florida you can't eat, you could barely get an AP African American Studies course passed. There are other things to be outraged. Be outraged about that.
yeah, focus on that. Let's focus on that. Now, somebody who is taking a lot of focus recently is Angie Stone.
Yes.
And Angie Stone, you know how we rock for black women
Mm-hmm.
on Q Points. I rock for black women on Sugar Honey on the Rocks, and just in general in black women in music. And Angie Stone's career is definitely one that deserves examination, that deserves accolades.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she deserves justice
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of the piracy of her creative her intellectual property. And I'm hoping that it doesn't. So like how Sister Nancy in her, I believe in her 70s,
Mhm.
is now finally getting the money and the accolades that she's been deserving over God knows how long for her for sampling of her that one song.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, well, Angie Stone deserves a moment like that as well. And again, now at least this time when she was sitting down with the culture vultures, she was spitting, she was spitting facts, unrefutable facts,
Yep.
and because she was there, because the paperwork is there, the receipts are there. I really do hope at some point that she does get the peace and justice that she deserves, because I would like to see her. I'm hoping that she finds some peace and some happiness
Yes.
while she's still a working musician.
Yeah. Um Thank you for saying that so eloquently. I think so often we have a tendency to be hard on people and vilify them, but not fully understand all the things that they're carrying with them. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if we look at the amount of work that Angie Stone has put in, groundbreaking work. We're not talking about just like work, we're talking groundbreaking work, right? That she has put in, and it doesn't align to the level of success that she has. I think, and I only recently came to this as we were kind of having conversations that, grace and space. So I thought the interview was interesting
Mm.
because there were things in there I was like, "Ooh, I did not know that."
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And to know that she's been around for over 40 years in this industry.
From the beginning, like one of the first female rap groups ever on
Ever.
wax,
Yep.
with hits
Yes.
that are still being sampled to this day.
Yep.
Ring ding
Deserves
dong on that.
ring ding dong on that. That's like that. She needs to put that shit out. Ring ding dong. Actually, that
Ring
would be a
ding
hot
dong on that.
Angie Stone. If you are watching Q Points, you need a T-shirt that says "Ring Ding Dong"
On that.
on that.
Ring.
Uh,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
she does. And for y'all women that are still hating on her for having a relationship with D'Angelo and having a child with him, let that go. That child is an adult now.
a
You
whole
really need
adult.
you really need to let that go.
That
just
child almost
just
30
being
years
mad,
old now. Why y'all mad? Like,
just because she got D'Angelo.
child, listen, okay, whichever. That's y'all are so interesting. But no,
That's fascinating.
it is. So one of the things that y'all can do. So fortunately, one of our earliest shows, actually from 2021, Adrian Austin, friend of the show, host of Adrian's playlist of conversations, um, talked about him writing I Wasn't Kidding with Andrea Martin, which was I Wasn't Kidding was a song for Angie Stone. And y'all should go back and watch that old school Q Points interview where Adrian describes the writing of that song. It's super, super dope. So definitely go check that out. And yo, not for nothing, pull up Angie Stone's catalog. I often play Angie Stone. Angie Stone, yo, she got joints. She got joints that just hold up. So go and pull that Angie Stone catalog and rock out.
So sidebar, real quick. I There was one summer, and my friends Anthony and Daryl can attest to this. There was one summer, I think it was the summer of 2004.
Mhm.
In that one summer, I know that we saw Angie Stone popped up in at least 5 different shows that one summer. And when I tell you Angie Stone, she comes from the school of going out and grinding it out on the road
Mhm.
and grinding it out on the stage and performing for your kibbles and bits. Like she comes from that school of hard work
Yeah.
and creating and leaving enough time between projects to give people full albums, full bodies of work, which is something that we don't get as much these days. We have been getting a lot of EPs. We've been
Mhm.
getting, you know, 6-song albums that may be 2 minutes long. Um, But I think, do you think that's changing? Do you think that's about to there's about to be a shift to the fuller length albums
You know what?
that
I
way?
do. I think Renaissance actually made. There's two things. There,
Hmm.
let me acknowledge that there have always been album artists. You
Right.
know, Kendrick, Beyonce. Those are album artists, and they've been consistently that. But I do think that watching what SZA's record has been doing, I think we may be re-entering the era of the full album, of the let's take a concept from beginning to end
Mm.
sort of idea. I think Renaissance definitely showed that. I think Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers definitely showed that. And so, yeah, I think we're back in that era, and I'm happy about it. I want to see artists take their ideas all the way out, full out, and work those ideas. So I do think we are back in that. And we'd love to hear from y'all too. What do you think, Sir Daniel?
I think that the word is getting out to a lot of younger artists who are seeing their predecessors come through. And Carlton has joined us in the chat. What's up, Carlton? I think the word is getting out that a lot of their predecessors are, or they're seeing what their predecessors have laid down,
Mm-hmm.
and they're seeing that even 30 years later, that these bodies of works, which they consider old, are still being celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what is happening is they're like, oh man, well, I wanna be celebrated 30 years from now. And the ones that are true artists and are invested in their craft and invested in creating bodies of work are going to do that and are going to shift the conversation to a full length album instead of EPs.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, it's cheaper. Yes, it's, you know, people like the idea of getting their product out to their audience a lot faster these days. If they think they
Mm-hmm.
got a hot song, fine, they can get it out there and get on people's playlists and charts and things like that. Remember our conversation about TikTok music being a
Mm-hmm.
thing and being a category in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are some artists that that's not them.
Mm-hmm.
They, hopefully we're going to see a resurgence and we're going to see a rise in the artists that are cut from a different cloth, that are cut from a familiar cloth, and want to provide us with artistry. Because if enough voices like Q Points
Mm-hmm.
are speaking loud enough on this subject, somebody's going to pay attention at some
Mm-hmm.
point and say, "Hey, we let's talk about longevity and let's talk about what it means to do that and to be that kind of artist in this century."
Thank you for mentioning that, because if there's one thing that I think I would love for artists, for those that listen, to hear is, yes, it is music. Music has been so disposable. I think
Mm.
we are slowly rolling some of that back a bit.
Hmm.
Um and because of that, that having room to breathe, right? Having room to bake an album, because what we saw for so long with, Drake and with Nicki is like every year or every other year at most you had a project, right?
Right.
Whereas you look at like a Kendrick, for instance, that record might bake for like 3 years before you actually get
Hmm.
that album. And I think it teaches, one, we get a fuller picture of who folks are as an artist in that moment. And two, artists get better at making albums. You get better at doing it when you take your time doing it. And so I really truly hope that we are getting to the point where folks want to take their time. Baby, listen. we remember the art back in the day, Sir Daniel. Folks would be rocking them records. We're never going back there where they work an album for
No.
like 2 or 3 years. But
Hmm.
you should at least be able to work an album for a year.
Yeah, at least,
At
and give us a
least.
hot remix here and there. And I mean, when I say a remix, I mean a real remix.
You went back in the studio, that
You went,
you
you
re-recorded your
recut
vocal.
everything, change the BPMs, flip it completely. I'm talking a remix. All right, so. But you mentioned J Ray, you mentioned Nicki Minaj,
Mm-hmm.
and as one of the figures of music, hip hop, that has been around now for over a decade and has been putting in work. You know, one of the criticisms, the early criticisms of Nicki was that she never gave props
Mm-hmm.
to her predecessors and her contemporaries. Well, I think we might be turning a corner
Mm-hmm.
because most recently, as we saw, that Nicki Minaj gave Ice Spice like the handoff, the
Mm-hmm.
cosign, like that. Ice Spice, that's the princess of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree.
I
I
agree.
agree that you know, for better or for worse, Ice Spice is the voice
Mm-hmm.
of this generation. She's definitely riding those drill beats that the kids really get into, and she definitely has a point of view. She's recognizable. Her voice is recognizable. So she's really definitely having a moment. So I give that to her. Shout out to Nicki for recognizing her. And you know what, Nicki has had the ability and would gather up some of the young women on certain projects and give them moments to shine. So Nicki has done that before,
Mm-hmm.
but I think everybody was really like, okay, yeah, we all agree.
Yeah.
You know, Ice Spice is that girl, and I think it helped. Also, it's really helping Ice Spice because not only is she getting a cosign from Nicki, but she's also gotten a cosign from Kim.
Yeah.
You know, Kim loves her, so I'm hoping that we've turned the corner and that the younger ladies are definitely going to get more love, and maybe that era might be fading out. Now, I still love a good diss record. I
Mm-hmm.
still love, some people trading bars and whatnot, but it's time for evolution. It's time for things to change up a little bit. There's definitely room for everybody. So, but you were saying that there's a possibility that Ice Spice and Nicki might be doing some business together.
Yeah, so I think uh this probably comes from this whole idea of Nikki giving the cosign, but they, the internet streets have been talking, and allegedly Ice Spice might be signing to Nikki because, as we know, Nikki started her label.
Oh
Da da da.
yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Um, I think the good in that could be, I don't know that we've ever, I'm trying to think now of all of the women artists who've owned labels, and there haven't been many of them on the rap side of things. So I don't know that there's a precedent for, like, the only one I can think of is Queen
Well,
Latifah,
yeah, Flavor Unit.
but that was short
Mm,
lived.
so Lil Kim did have a Queen Bee imprint for a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
She did have an imprint. Remember, she was working with that little girl. Um, what was her name? She was on that Aunt Dot song.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember her name. It's gonna come to me, but it's the little
Okay.
girl. If you hear us out there, you're in the chat. Let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fox, I think, had an imprint at one point as well. She had the Fox 5 gang.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been some, but none that has really taken off that I
Right.
can think of right now.
Yeah. So I think I think that Nikki, with her experience,
Shanice. Little Shanice. That was her name. Little Shanice.
I'm literally don't know who that is. That is so crazy. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Listen to the song Aunt Dot by
Okay,
Little Kim. Yeah.
I will. Um,
Hmm.
so I think it could be interesting. That's all I'll say. It could be interesting. I will say that listen, if I'm Ice Spice, I would be looking at the noise I've been able to make independently, and I would be trying to build a team around that. Like
Mm,
I would literally, but that's J Ray, right? Wanting the,
right.
you know, and also recognizing that as much as the music industry has been, people have been able to move independently a lot easier.
Hmm.
Everybody's still looking for the machine, the big label machine. Even though you can move independently. So, um, that's what I would be saying. I would be like, listen, build that team around, build that team. You know what I'm saying? Get that manager, get that finance group, get that marketing team, and ride that shit out. Make
Write
all
it
of them
out.
coins.
Well, you know what? Because it is International Women's Month, Women's
Women's
International
month.
Month, and I think the fact that our first opening segment has been about Black women in music,
Mhm.
I think it's only right that we continue the conversation this month, honoring women in music, specifically Black women in music. And this week we are honoring Black women in radio.
Mhm.
And because radio and the music industry go hand in hand, they
Yes.
have been, for all intents and purposes, radio for Black America was what they want, what hip hop is now, what Instagram and TikTok is.
Mhm.
That was our main conduit of getting the word out, especially during the Jim Crow era.
Mhm.
It was a place to rally. It was a place to get the news out, to warn people, to encourage people, and of course to get our news,
Mhm.
information around the nation, especially when we lost a lot of our leaders in the civil rights era. But now radio is also a multi-million dollar industry. And J Ray, we talk. You all know that I worked in radio for several years, and radio is about speaking to a particular audience because radio is a means to sell stuff.
Yeah. Right.
When we get to the bottom of it, and who are they selling things to? They're selling things to women
Mhm.
because they know women control the purse strings. Women, over the years, have become the main earners,
Mhm.
are the main earners for the household. So everything was targeting women. So how do you target women? You get another woman to speak to them,
Yes.
and it's not enough just to talk at them and to try to sell stuff. But what is so amazing about the women that we're going to discuss this evening or on this episode is that they've been able to create relationships
Mhm.
with the people that they talk to, with the audience, with
Yes.
the women that they speak with every day, whether it's drive time or overnight.
Mhm.
There is that woman that they can relate to, that is on the air, that can relate to their plight, that can relate to raising children, getting these kids ready for school. Girl,
Right.
I'm listening to you on the radio while I'm getting these kids ready for school, and you
Mhm.
making me laugh, and you making me, you see me.
Right.
And that's a powerful thing.
Yes.
And so we have to acknowledge these women in radio, especially Black women in radio. And J Ray, we were getting ready to do this show, and this is what I love about us, about Q
Mhm.
Points. We had to find out, well, who was the first, who
Right.
is the who is known as the first, or at least credited with being the first. And we came across a young woman by the name of Mary Dee Dudley.
Yes.
I love that name, Mary Dee Dudley. She's from around your way, from around the
Mhm.
Pennsylvania area.
Yep.
and she is credited as becoming or being the first female African American radio DJ in the United States.
Yes.
Now, it's not clear how she got in, because I'm pretty certain there's a story behind that, and I would love to know. What we found interesting is that because this is such a historical moment, and we're going to tell you why a little bit later on, is that there wasn't a whole lot more to the story,
Right.
and that's why we do these things here on Q Points, and would love to find out more about her. But for this episode, we want y'all to know who Mary Dee Dudley was. Prior to her passing away in 1964, she started a segment called Moving Around. It was 15 minutes long, and it was a station. Of course, this was AM, because AM was
Mm-hmm.
king
Yeah.
back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about 1948, guys. So this is when
Wow.
AM was king. It was WHOD in Homestead, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And do you know where Homestead is, Jerry? Is that still?
No, it's out in the Pittsburgh. It's on the other side of the state. So no,
Gotcha,
never been there.
gotcha.
Never even heard of it.
So here's the thing. What and here's the power of Black women. The show went from only being on for an hour to 2 hours, which is
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
Which means I'm pretty certain the advertisers came knocking,
Mm-hmm.
because she had the ears of all the colored folks back in the day, as it were. And then she brought along her brother to do the newscasting, to do the news
Nice.
reporting. Again, so we've got music and we've got news. Two things,
I
two
love
things
black
living
people.
simultaneously. We got to do it. We're gonna have fun, but we're gonna stay informed at the same
Right.
time. And a Black woman is gonna be at the helm of that operation. So they they of course reported on all the things I talked about. It was the Jim Crow era, so there was
Mm-hmm.
segregation, police beatings, corrupt politicians, etc. So those things are on the forefront, and I think kept us so informed that if we didn't stay informed and didn't keep the energy up, none of those things would have changed, because the young people of that era were the ones that really made a lot of change. They were the
Mm-hmm.
ones that went and changed these laws, protesting, so on and so forth. And I can guarantee you there was a little AM radio
Yep.
at these protests, playing the music, the hottest songs, but also giving you news, giving them encouragement. And I'm
Yes.
pretty certain Mary Dee Dudley was that voice for those young people. So in 1951, she was profiled in Ebony magazine, and that helped her gain national attention because she also got her very own studio. And J Ray,
Oh,
we were able to find a couple pictures. First of
yes.
all, let's take a look at Mary D. Dudley. Is that the one you have up?
This one?
Yes. So first of all, she literally is on the ones and twos.
Right.
Like, radio DJs back in the day actually dropped needles. They had to queue up their records, and it was a whole thing. And here she is, done up. On radio, you can't be seen, of course,
Right.
but Black folks, we gonna look fly regardless, because you just never know. And she looks very fly, very beautiful in this picture. But she opened up her very own studio, Studio D, in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, or the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh area. And this is so dope. So the studio is located in a building on a corner, and there's a huge window. So she was so popular that people would go down to the window and watch her at Studio D,
BLD.
WHOD, and watch her while she did her thing. And that was like, can you imagine, being able to see your favorite broadcaster, someone that looks like you, is part of
Yeah.
the community, and you see all the Black people, of course, we're done up.
Right.
We have on our Sunday's best. And of course, she would have the celebrities of the time, like your Eartha Kitt,
Mm-hmm.
your Nat King Cole, even Tony Bennett came through
Mm-hmm.
and was a guest on her show. So this is how it got started. This is
Wow.
one of the avenues of how this all got started, how we all, you know, how everybody's able to have a podcast these days, how
Yes.
everybody feels emboldened to have a voice. That's where it gets started. One of the
Mary D.
I'm sure she's not she may not have been just the only one, but Mary Dee Dudley is the nexus of this celebration that we're doing of Black women in radio and how it pertains to music. So, salute to Mary Dee Dudley.
Wow.
That's major to have your own studio. That's a lot of people didn't have that back in the day.
Yeah, I think so. There are a couple of things. There are three things I wanna revisit. Thank you so much for that amazing history, Sir Daniel, because I don't think a lot of us, I had never heard of Mary D. Dudley before we were preparing for this show. And I
Right.
think that's going to be true for a lot of folks, right? And fortunately, we both know folks, women in radio, but
Mm-hmm.
I think for folks coming up, it's important to know that, listen, this is the type of stuff that paved the way. So I wanted to mention two things. One, in the picture that's up now, and we're looking at the outside of Studio D, which is so dope because it's there on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing is, of course, you see the speaker, right, coming out because clearly they want the people outside to hear what's happening inside the studio, right? This is clearly a gathering spot. And looking at there are so many women out
Yes.
here. Yes, there are men, but there are mostly women out here in white dresses, right? Um and listening and being a community. That
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful because I can imagine them, to your point, right? Her being able to look out on her people as she's doing her work has to be like a thing. The second thing I want to mention here is, and I think we looked at this, but if this is not if this spot hasn't been marked with a historical marker, it needs one,
Absolutely.
because we need this documented that Studio D and Mary D. Dudley were right here projecting the news and the music to our people. Like that, I wanted to say that. Last thing I want to say, y'all, I just pulled up the picture. So Mary D is in the studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
These machines that are playing these records are huge. These are the
They're humongous.
biggest turntables you've ever seen. They look like cartoon turntables, right? And
I'm The arms are enormous, guys.
enormous. I'm sure they're metal, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they're playing 78 records, but what's really dope is Mary D has the records that she's playing on the back. So on the back side of the picture, you'll see the records lined up, and I'm sure they're in order because that's what she can play, right? And just fascinating. Just a fascinating piece of history. And thank you so much for sharing. And one of the things that we wanted to do, so we are going to talk about a few Black women in music. Well, actually four, and actually five. So Krystal Hill, who is the director of podcasts for Black Love, Krystal sent us a video because we asked Krystal the question about one, the evolution and the change in terrestrial radio and its impact in podcasting, but also about Black women in radio. And Krystal sent us a very heartfelt video about her feelings, and it's both a history lesson and her showing love. And so I think it's a great lead in for the rest of our conversation because she mentions like two people we're going to talk about. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're gonna put this video up with Krystal Hill from Black Love, and then we're gonna come back on the other side and continue on with the discussion.
Hi, friends. It's Krystal. So excited to talk about radio and Black women radio and everything radio. To talk a little bit about podcasting and syndication and how that affects terrestrial radio. And I mean, I don't know if I would say syndication affects terrestrial radio because syndication is terrestrial radio. I would say syndication versus like local radio. But as far as syndication goes, syndication's been the name of the game for a lot of folks since the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And y'all can Google that. I'm not going to give you a lesson on the legalities of the Telecommunications Act, but I think what people need to remember is that radio has been resilient and radio just kind of adapts. You kind of see now that radio takes podcasts. iHeart does this a lot and will syndicate it. We'll take podcasts, give it a hot clock, and just re-air it on radio and give it that broader reach. Gives you a whole new ad spend. So radio is adapting to what people want, and people just want different content. So I mean, as far as like how radio has adapted to the rise in podcasting, they've just taken it and found a way to give it a radio format and monetize it. As far as like Black women in radio, Black women never really get the shine that they should, especially like the amazing Black women we've had in radio. I think Black women in radio are getting ready to do like an inaugural Black 30 and inaugurate these 30, I want to say 38 women into, I want to say it's the Library of Congress, and like digitize their voices and collections and like remember who these people are because they are so important. But I think if we all think back to our youth or even just like our parents, the one thing I love about radio and about like traditional media, I'll call it traditional media, is that it is a way that communities of color and especially Black people find like these generational bonds, right? So we all find to kind of grow up on the same talent. And a lot of these women have been on the air for decades. So like I would have heard someone that, you know, my grandmother listened to because these people started when they're like 18, and being able to share that talent is important and it's special. And, you know, women like a Shirley Strawberry, women like Beyonce Fox, what Cathy Hughes has been able to do. I mean, you go anywhere and you say the Quiet Storm and everyone starts singing the theme to the Quiet Storm, right? Sharon in Detroit, bringing it back like an Ebony Moonbeam, a Tammy Mack, Frankie Darcell, Pat Prescott. Like I can name after name. And depending on what region of the country you are, you're like, oh yeah, I love that person. I remember X, Y, or to Z. And it's these great community voices that, that, you know, bonds us. And we don't give enough credit to just how influential these women have been. And it's, you know, a shame, but I'm not surprised. Even like a Wendy Williams and how she transformed radio and then transformed television. It's a shame. Like I can just say it's a shame that we don't do that. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because I can think of like music I've been introduced to that I love, and talent that has outlived people I've loved. So, yeah, I love radio. And I hope someone can think back to like a Black woman that they've heard on air that they love too. But yeah, I love you guys. I'll see y'all when I get back from vacation, and keep doing what y'all doing. See y'all.
Yo,
I love that. I love that. And listen, you can hear it in Krystal's voice, the love and the respect that is there, because it's not an easy industry, because even though radio is the theater of the mind, because we're not dealing with a visual, you are having an intimate moment with a voice, right? And it's super important to know that these women, even though once in this era, we still have to, there's still a visual component. And so a lot of times I can only imagine the things that they had to go through, because you have to take pictures and you still have to make public appearances, because when the corporations come in to play, it's about selling their products
Yes.
on the air. And so you had a question about a hot clock.
Yes. What is a hot
And
clock?
so in radio, everything is, there's a clock.
Mhm.
There's a top of the hour. The things are broken down at the 15 is when they play all their all the radio spots, the advertisements. And so it's built into the to whatever format you're in, whether it's talk or whether it's music radio. There is a clock that they
Okay.
created for each and every drive time, the afternoon drives, the overnights. Everybody has their own, and like each segment commands a certain amount of money. Of course, morning drive commands the most amount of money.
Mhm.
Then your afternoon drive from 2 to 6
Yep.
commands like the second tier, and it it gets a little lower as the night goes on. But depending on your talent, depending on what you do, your popularity, you can still command a certain amount of revenue whenever your slot is. You can ask a Greg Street,
Yeah.
who has coined the term 6 o'clock time. It's Greg Street to rock. That man has been on the air, I know, over 30 years now.
Oh,
So
easy.
easy. And so 6 to 10 typically at one point only earn a certain amount of money, but when you have somebody like that changes the game, then it will change. So that's a short lesson on what the hot clock is and how it's designed. It's just basically how to sell the revenue that is being paid for by your sponsors and whatnot. There was a name that I just thought of that when she was going through the list of Black women, and we don't talk about her a lot. Robin Quivers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Robin Quivers is, when you think about it,
Yeah.
Robin Quivers has to be a pretty damn big deal to have still been on the air with Howard Stern for all these years.
We don't
Like,
talk
and
about her in Black community as much, and she belongs there.
she definitely belongs in that conversation.
Wow.
She definitely belongs in that conversation.
So interestingly enough, as we lead into our discussion, one of the names that Krystal mentioned was Frankie Darcell. Frankie Darcell is still on the air on WDAS in Philadelphia today. I grew up listening to Frankie Darcell. Frankie Darcell is still on the air. So
you see how important that is? That's so important.
It's consistent. Like it is, here it is. It's one of those things when you think about home, we don't think about all the things that home encompasses, right? And the voices that you hear on your local radio station also remind you of home. So when you enter, I knew that if I was in Philly and I was going to listen to WDAS, there are certain voices that I would hear on the radio. And how impactful, how centering and grounding that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one thing that so one thing Krystal mentioned was about syndication and the relationship syndication has to terrestrial radio. Syndication can take basically like you could take Q points, for instance. And if a radio station wanted to syndicate us, that would just basically mean our show would be put on their hot clock for a certain amount of hours, or maybe 1 hour or two, and in whatever city and state, and you would hear all of their local stuff, but you will also hear Q Points, which is based out of Atlanta and Pennsylvania, but it will be a part of your local rotation. And that is a very important point because, again, the reason why women are targeted, especially with radio, is because think about from the Mary Dee Dudley's day. Most women were at home. There was a time where a lot of women were at home and they would they're taking care of the home, so all the advertisement will be focused on them because they know that they're the ones at home, keeping home, cooking, doing the shopping, all of that stuff. So even in the work, if you notice, when women enter the workplace a lot harder, they change
The time
the
slots
format.
Yep.
Switch up. You have your at work hours, right?
Yep.
Who are they talking to? Girl, I know you're in that cubicle. I know you're in that cubicle, so I'm going to play a little music to keep you wiggling in your chair and keep you productive.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna, and if you're listening to me, call me up now. I'll be the 10th caller, and I'll pay for your lunch because I know you at work working hard. So all of these things are very important to keep women in mind because they know that women, Black women specifically, drive this economy. So never ever, this is really about Black women's worth. They know it, and I hope you also know it as well. So I think that's one of the larger messages of this episode of Q Points. But syndication, we can't talk syndication and not talk about Cathy Hughes. Cathy Hughes is like the McDonald's of radio. Like there is a Radio 1 station probably in, God knows, we should have looked it up how many markets but it's probably in a Radio 1 market everywhere.
Yeah. Radio 1, Cathy Hughes, first of all, Cathy Hughes for us in our generation is one of those kind of omnipresent figures. You know, when you think of Black media, you think Bob Johnson and you think Cathy Hughes, right? Like they're hand in hand, right?
And they were happening at the same time.
And they were happening at the exact same time, the late 70s and early 80s, right? This emergence of this work. Radio 1 is another one of those, I think they're called Urban One now, is another one of those companies that really did bring Black voice to different markets. So not only was it music, it was also news, and then you had, so it was not just R&B and hip hop, it was also Christian, it was also these other types of things, right? But bringing the voice of Black folks to many markets in the country. And so Cathy Hughes just did so in terms of the amount of expansion that they were able to do in radio and then moving into TV. And then being able to like buy out their biggest investors and like, no, we're just going to take this and do it ourselves. From a business standpoint, like she cannot be messed with. Like this woman has brought Black culture to America and to the world.
So during my radio days, Radio 1 was definitely, if you were looking up on all the sites, the websites for your next gig, for your next job in radio, it was like a no-brainer. It's like, okay, well, if I can't do it here, I'm going to go down the streets, Hot 107.9, and, or whatever Radio 1 outfit there was. And what Cathy is really good at is her Urban One umbrella included different formats. Like you were saying, you had your hip hop, you had your hip hop stations, but then she also had your grown folk station. And then you have your talk and news and talk station, all under one umbrella. I remember going down to the studios and they had everything just all under one roof. And people had their own studios. It was just like, that was getting it done. And so it has to be applauded.
Yes.
That she was able to do this on her own with her son at a very young age. The way, is a very humble beginning, running this station and doing, everything.
Yeah.
That's one thing you learn in radio is you learn how to do everything. If it means you got to clean the bathroom and, you got to get people lunch, you got to pull commercials and have them ready to be played, pull music, all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So, and that's definitely somebody that got it out the mud and whose name will forever ring in this pantheon about radio and communications.
Yeah. So Interestingly enough, so one of Urban One's stations that they picked up here in Philly, um, and it's changed a lot over the years, but there's a station 100.3. Actually, Amanda Seales is on there. It's syndicated on
She has a show now. Yeah.
100.3 here in Philly now, but it's WRNB now, and they play contemporary R&B music. So from the like, you know, 90s up into like the 2010s. So, but what's interesting is that station 100.3 was a whole different station in 1979, and Lady B started on 100.3 back in 1979 when it was a whole other station. And we definitely have to big up the work of Lady B to bring
Now, are we
hip-hop
talking about now? Clap your hands, everybody! Clap your hands. We talking about that Lady B, right?
That joint is still dope, yo. That joint is still dope.
Listen, I got it. Trust me, I got it in the stack. But what was that like here? You know, growing up, Lady B being one of those early voices of hip hop.
Well, okay,
in the Philadelphia area.
So here's what's interesting. Because, you know, I fell in love with hip hop officially in like 88. So I was listening to Power 99, but see, the street beat came on really late. Okay. So I never knew about the street beat, right? So I didn't discover Lady B until like 88. You know what I'm saying? The street beat was off by 89, right? I think 89 was when Power 99 ended that show, and then she moved to another station. So the myth, the not the myth, but the presence of her was all throughout Philly. So you would hear. So I remember when I was younger, and if there would be like a concert or something like that, like Powerhouse, you know, Lady B would of course be one of the presenters or the hosts or whatever, but I had never sought out her show because hip hop wasn't something that I had like fully fallen in love with yet. So I was late. I was really late, but I will tell you today what happened was, because as I was getting ready for this show, I was like, "Ooh, find some old street beat shows." My God, like I was literally just rocking a couple of hours ago to a 1985 broadcast. The first song she played was a Runaway by Roxanne Shante. And when it was brand freaking new, like Shantae was dropping the song. It was like, here's my new song, you know, Runaway by, you know, Roxanne Shante. And so I'm like, oh my God, I missed out on so much. But that's why I think it's important that these women's voices, like Krystal was talking about, be preserved. Because we need those shows like what Lady B was doing then to be remembered. And Lady B is still on the air today. So she is on 107.9 in Philly now during drive time. So she's still on the air today.
So I think it's important, like, so today is the anniversary of Mr. Magic, Sir Juice, of the Juice Crew, and also you know, just a legendary hip hop DJ in the game, responsible for today was his birthday. And today was his birthday, and he passed away back in
when did Mr.
2000. It was early, like 2008, 2009. I can't remember the exact date, but Mr. Magic is one of those names when we think about broadcasting in hip hop. He's one of those names that we immediately think of, and I think it must be said that, like Mr. Magic, like a Red Alert, like a Chuck Chill Out, we gotta speak Lady B's name. And it's like, because I know Philly is considered like the second city, the second hip hop city.
Yep.
And so Lady B is definitely our, the red is, well, for you, for
Yeah,
Philly, for people who grew up in that area, it's
she's
definitely the red alert,
yep.
the Mr. Magic of the area. And I wonder how she feels about, I don't know, does she feel like she's gotten the props that she deserved?
Mm. I have to revisit. She did do an interview with on Questlove Supreme. We'll put the link to that in the description.
Dope.
But Quest really, and they really dig deep. Like she tells all the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really good question. If I think what's beautiful about even hearing her today is, one, you hear the experience, but two, um hopefully people don't just think of her as the woman who's on during drive time today, but that no, this is like a legendary DJ that really truly introduced so much hip hop that was coming
Yeah.
out at the time, not just of course here in Philly, but was the place to go. People, rappers and artists wanted Lady B to play their joints. And not for nothing, she's also probably she's one of the earliest women on wax. The one of the earliest hip hop women in hip hop
For
on
sure.
wax. You can't, like, that is, and she was what, 17, 18?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's powerful history.
Absolutely. And shout out to Bahamadia for making her name immortal on the You Know
Yes.
How We Do record, and shouting her out in the Rock Rock On
Mm-hmm.
chorus, giving props to people that
And Lady B
put
need to
Philly
rock
on the
rock
map.
on.
Rock on, exactly. So shout out to Lady B and Philly. But you know who came to take wigs in Philadelphia at one point?
My
Who came
God.
through
It was a
after
time. It
getting
was a
fired in New
time.
York, went across that bridge, and she went through the Philly, and she snatched all y'all wigs in Philadelphia. We can't talk about women in radio and not talk about the illustrious career of Wendy Williams.
We could not.
Like Wendy holds a I'm gonna use I statements. Wendy holds a special place in my heart. Like, she appeals. Okay, there's, like everybody else, there's a messy part of me, right? I
we
have a
all got it. We
very
all got it.
messy.
We all got a little bit of mess.
I've got a very messy side, and yes, Wendy Williams appeals to that messy side, because the thing about Wendy is that, yes, she was messy, but she made me laugh at the same time. And if you can get away with making things palatable by making it funny and making it entertaining. Wendy was the queen of that, making it messy but entertaining. And it was like, oh, I really shouldn't be laughing about this, but this is so good. This is so good. And I'm going to tune into the next day to hear about this. But I think, okay, well, let me ask you this. What do you think is Wendy's legacy? Wendy Williams' legacy?
I do think she will be forever known as the queen of radio. I actually think that her legacy is solidified enough that I don't care how bad it gets. I think that
Mm-hmm.
people will mostly remember her as like the queen of radio. Um I would hesitate to say the queen of all media, because I think even though she was game changing on the TV side, and I think we could talk about
Right.
even her entry point into the TV game was very much in the vein of like a Howard Stern, which black people
Mm-hmm.
weren't do, which black radio personalities weren't doing at the time. Um,
Right.
but I do think that she was on the air long enough to establish a reputation that people cannot mess with. And she's got the legendary Whitney Houston interview. Baby, listen.
How many people can say that they have got? I wonder if it's in the archives. If it's like that, should really be placed in like the archives in the Congress, wherever they're putting the what is it called again? Well, wherever the voices and
The Library
of
of
these
Congress.
black women, the Library of Congress, that interview by itself needs to be put in the Library of Congress because it is just phenomenal. You got the powerhouse of R&B and a powerhouse of radio just going at it. And what I love, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna move on from the messy part. But what I love is that you could tell Wendy Wendy was enjoying it,
Oh, she
even though Whitney was giving her the business, but Wendy was enjoying it, and we
Yes.
could tell, and that's what made it even more delicious. It was like Wendy is really getting off on this. Yeah, I like Jerry and I are cracking up about it now because it's just one of those. If you have not listened to it, go on YouTube. I think it might still be there.
Oh, it
It's like
is.
It's like a 2-part video. It's just an awesome, awesome piece of history, and she doesn't even like to recall it a whole bunch. But it's just one of those things that was a
Oh, yeah.
defining moment in radio and R&B pop culture. And so here's another thing. Wendy Williams is definitely a game changer in that Wendy Williams is hip hop
Yes.
for sure. Wendy Williams is definitely a part of hip hop history, and she also created a lane for Black entertainers to become part of the larger conversation of pop culture.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the tabloids, unless you were Michael Jackson sleeping in a chamber with the Elephant Man's bones, mainstream America, white people did not care about our celebrities.
Yeah.
We got, Wendy Williams made people care about our celebrities,
Yeah.
for better or for worse, whether she was talking slick about them or not. She created this template for everybody to now, for your Jason Lees,
Yes.
for even your almost said JC Carishas,
Yeah.
to have a platform to talk salacious things that nobody thought that at some point they didn't think that we cared about. Oh, but we absolutely do. And now the whole world is looking at it. And so that's a whole industry.
Yeah.
That's money that has been generated. And, people have become rich off of this kind of entertainment. So for better or for worse, Wendy is their girl.
Yeah, yeah, Wendy Williams, we just couldn't talk about radio and not talk about her. Like, she, particularly the Black women in radio, like, she is just that important. And I have read all the things. We've read all the things. Seeing her transition, I will tell you, and I think I told you this, Sir Daniel, I remember being very surprised about her embrace on daytime TV, because I knew Wendy as, the woman who had been fired multiple times for saying wild shit on the radio about Black celebrities. So when she got embraced by daytime talk in this very real way, I was like, what in the world? Wendy Williams.
And can you imagine the shockwaves that sent through the music industry? It was like, so now there is a conduit for us to get on television, but now we got to kind of and we got to kind of make up with her, or at least kiss enough little ass to get on her show and to do the things. But imagine what kind of power that is. But the greater picture, the life lesson, like you said. Fired from allegedly fired by Cathy Hughes, and Cathy Hughes has gone on record and say, I never.
She just said that
Diana Williams never fired her, and she was never chain smoking in her radio stations like that. But to get fired from multiple positions and to have your name be mud and to be feared at the same time, but to still have that, that reign on to go from radio to television is not an easy feat. So she deserves a lot of respect.
Yeah, so interesting factoid. I didn't know this, but when Wendy came to Power 99, she helped the station move from 14 to 2.
Look at that. That
It was
now
it was a tumultuous time.
time, but to go from a 14 share to a 2, you guys to be number 2 in the market, that's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy, and that translates to advertising dollars. So that means the station manager was eating better, the program director was eating better, the music director was eating better, even the DJs before the morning shows and the evening drives. Everybody was eating better because now your station has gone from number 14 in the market to number 2. That translate what black women translate to dollars.
Oh, so
power.
okay.
That's a lot of power. Okay.
So, Sir Daniel, speaking of black women, you had the opportunity to. I'm gonna just put this picture up, and we're gonna talk about it. So you're gonna. So DJ Sir Daniel did this amazing interview that we're gonna play for y'all. But I want to pull this picture up. So let's talk about this. So
wow, who is that?
Who tell us who is in this picture, Sir Daniel?
Okay, so on the, I guess that's the left.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the left or the right?
The left.
The hat. With
the
Falcons
the right.
hat on.
That's the
right. So with the Falcons hat on, that is Atlanta's. Oh my God, Rocking the Box with Portia Fox. That is the Portia Fox. You talking about power? There was one afternoon when I was just getting started, and her board op wasn't not even her board op. Her show producer was not available or didn't show up at the time, and was they told me to go in there and just like help out Portia during her drive time, and just stay out of her way, but help her.
Right.
Now, mind you, Portia put on an amazing show, but you don't put on an amazing show without running a tight ship. And if you didn't know what you were doing, there were some consequences. Like, there were a lot of stories about carts, and when I say carts, I'm talking about like things. If you've ever seen an 8-track,
that's what the music was on, right?
The music and the commercials. So there were rumors that that were told amongst the show operator, the board operators, and the interns that Portia would throw these carts at you if you didn't get things right or handed things to her on time. So anyway, they pushed me in there one afternoon, and when I tell you I could have laid a brick, I was so nervous. She didn't like people. Well, I'm not gonna tell all her business, but there was. Just know that it made you right if you either rose to the occasion or you did not. But she had a vision. She has a vision for her show because I believe she's still on the air. She had a vision for her show at the time when we were all working at the same station, and it came to. I mean, she had a hot share in the market. She was on everybody's lips. She had. I mean, Portia Fox was the girl. Was that girl. Now, on my other side is another legend who you all are going to meet. If you don't know who she is, you're about to find out. That is Joyce Littel. For several years, was Joyce Littel's show producer for her Sunday night show, Love and Relationships, and also the board op for her for the Quiet Storm on Sunday nights. And yeah, I worked for her for several years and as a show producer and helped, build that show and expanded it to being like a really hot show on a Sunday night. Yeah. Sunday nights, they didn't expect people to tune into the radio on Sunday nights because, people are getting ready for work. But on Sunday nights, we had Love and Relationships, and we were talking about everything from sex to relationships. We had special guests on the air. And I mean, as the time went on, we were less afraid about touching certain topics where nobody else was touching them. So this was a hot show. But I'll tell you a funny story about that night in particular. That picture was taken at Vegas Nights club that's no longer there.
I'm gonna say, baby, Atlanta clubs, they will churn, child.
They will.
Where was Vegas Nights?
That was on Cobb Parkway.
Okay.
Vegas Nights was on Cobb Parkway.
Definitely is
And
not there. Cobb Parkway ain't doing that now.
it is not there no anymore. And that was the site of, this was the maybe a week after Fantasia Barrino won American Idol. We got Fantasia at Vegas Nights on like her victory tour. And when I tell you the station was out, we were all out. We were having fun. Of course, I had to bring my people with me. I had Anthony, I had Shannon, God rest his soul. They were with us, and we loved Fantasia so much. So all the staff was up on in the balconies in the VIP area. Not me. I wanted to get down and be with everybody because I love Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to be down right next to her, be able to touch her and all that, even though we got to meet her before, but I wanted to be in front of her while she was singing. And so we just had an amazing time that night. Miss Sophia, the legendary Miss Sophia, helped MC the show. And it was just a night of, I would go upstairs and get free drinks and bring them down to my friends. And Miss Sophia, there was, if anybody remembers, there was a lottery on the station called the Free Money Kitty. And so what people would do is call up and guess how much money was in this Free Money Kitty. And there would be a robotic voice that would tell you that either your guess was too high or too low. And my friend, Miss Sophia, being the jokester that she is, would do and ask people who to guess what was in the Free Money Kitty. And my friend Shannon, God bless his soul, Shannon had a very high pitched voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sophia, of course, she knew us. She put the microphone in front of Shannon's voice and in front of Shannon's face and said, "Guess how much is in the Free Money Kitty?" And Shannon, in his high pitched voice, made his guess. And Miss Sophia took the mic and said, "The kitty says, your guess is too gay." And the club erupted in so much laughter. I just remember everybody was in such good spirits. That was just one of those nights that I'll never forget. And it was one of the fringe benefits of working at a radio station, events like that. But working alongside Joyce Littel taught me a life's worth of lessons that helps me now in doing this podcast. It was just an amazing opportunity. But yeah, you guys, I haven't always had gray hair. I had long hair, all of that. I'm gonna post that picture so y'all can see on the Instagrams and whatnot. But yeah, that was part of the radio life that I was living back in the day.
Wow. So as we are going to play a clip. So we have a clip that we want to play of DJ Sir Daniel's conversation with Joyce Littel. And hang out for this because we don't want you to miss this. And then we're going to come back and we're just going to do a little bit of reflection before we close out tonight's show. But y'all are about to meet the amazing Joyce Littel. I just met her when I was editing this. I can't wait to meet her in person now. So enjoy this and we'll be right back.
So, like you were saying, the lineups are real male heavy. And let's talk about the Quiet Storm. So Melvin Lindsay, we all know Melvin Lindsay started the Quiet Storm in 1976. Right. But as history has it, you are the only woman in all the Quiet Storm history that has really held down a Quiet Storm format and has taken it to such higher heights. In all radio history. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Quiet Storm.
Well, and that's Mike Roberts' fault. because when Mike Roberts, by the way, I want to welcome my guest, one of the best poets in the history of poetry is Queen Sheba.
Hey, Queen, I don't know Queen Sheba.
So when Mike Roberts hired me to come over to V, I came over and I was doing overnights from 1 o'clock until 6. And, I'm leaving WIGO, getting a shot at V. I'm just all excited. Right.
Yeah.
So one day Mike Roberts called me in his office and he said, Joyce, I am going to try something. And I'm like, so what you gonna try, Mike Robert? And he said, I want you to become the host of the Quiet Storm. He said, normally that time of night, it's always a deep voice male that, because radio is programmed to certain radio was programmed to women. And
Right.
so a deep voice male and don't get a cute one. Oh, you women. And so he called me in and he said, I'm going to give you a shot, or I want to try you at hosting the Quiet Storm. Now, when he first said that, I was just looking at, okay, now I'm going to come from 1 until 6 and go from 10 until 1. Or back then it was 10 until 2.
Right.
Well, I'm like, well, I consider that a move up. You know what I'm saying? And so I was excited about that. And then I started doing it, and the phones and the ratings went crazy. And Mike called me in. He said, Joyce, it was your voice. He said, your soothing voice is what I knew would be really great for the Quiet Storm and V103. So it was Mike Roberts' fault. Thank him for hearing it and seeing it in me and allowing me to become the host, the first female host of a show like that called The Quiet Storm. And as we say, the rest is history.
So both you and Mike Roberts, y'all are the parents of all the babies that were born in what? Was that 90 or was that 92?
1990.
1990. All the babies born in Atlanta, all the Grady babies, those two are responsible for them being conceived.
I'll take it.
So with that format of The Quiet Storm, like you are the champion of romance and love on the air, right? And so a lot of the music, from 1990 until now, you had a lot of music to select from, old, new, a lot of music to pull from. With the way music is going now, is there enough music being created to sustain a Quiet Storm format, in your opinion?
Yes and no. I mean, because it's going to be artists and music till eternity. I mean, because there are always someone who is wanting to become an artist. And I think, in life, we have to conform. I'm not tech savvy at all. You remember when you worked with me, you had to do most of it.
Yes.
That's not it, but I had to become savvy enough to maintain credibility and to continue to advance in my career. So I think I said all of that to say that it will be music. And so things will conform to what is being out there.
Okay.
I think, shows that play classic old school will live on forever, because a Luther Vandross song, So Amazing, will be played until my great-great-grandchildren can hear it. And it'll still have the same quality,
yes,
and feeling that it did when he first put it out on the scene. I think there are a few artists that songs might live past what they are putting out now. That there's not many, I don't think, but then I feel like the show itself will conform to the type of music that is being played.
Gotcha. So one such artist that I feel, in my opinion, you help nurture is Usher. And you were telling me that recently you went to go see him in Vegas. Just share a little bit about what that experience was like to see the grown Usher now holding down his own Vegas residency, and seeing Joyce Littel and coming and giving you your props.
Right. Well, what had happened was, I got a phone call, and it was from Usher, and he said, "Joyce, I'm doing a segment in my Vegas show, and I want to call it The Quiet Storm." And he said, who I cannot do this show without the Quiet Storm host. And he said, I need you to be a part of this show. And by then, as old as I am, I still fell down to the floor. Usher called me to do a show to be a part of his Vegas show. What? So of course I was excited about doing it and wanting to do it. And what it was I just voiced this segment as if I was on the radio.
Gotcha.
And it was like, "Hi, this is Joyce Littel, Vegas. You just got your party on with Usher, but now it's time to take it nice and slow. And you're listening to The Quiet Storm." And it was all written out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because I did that, we went out to Vegas. He put us smack dead in the middle of front row. I'm talking about $2,500+ tickets. And the after party, I mean, he just really showed us a great time. And there was some business involved, but I ain't got to share all that.
Right.
And I was just as country as they come, because soon as that segment came on stage, I was standing up on the front row screaming, "That's me! That's me!" I'm just straight up country.
That's Athens. That's just Athens.
That's just the Athens. And when I told him because he did a meet and greet and brought us in. We took pictures and did the whole nine. And I told him when we were in there taking pictures, I said, "Look, I'm country. I'm gonna be country. You're gonna hear me."
And he'll be okay with it. He'll be all right.
He was okay with it. And the other people who were on the front row with us, they were just looking at me. I'm like, "I don't care. That is me. That is my voice. That is my name." And then I saw DJ Mars, and DJ Mars said, "Joyce, I loved it."
That's right. Yeah, because he's out there.
He was his DJ, yes. And, so we got pictures and we had a great time. And DJ Mars just recently posted he and I again on his Instagram. And on there, I was truthfully saying, now I've been to Vegas before, I've been to shows before, but that was the best show experience that I had. Not just because of my little piece of it, was just because of how Usher have just come into his own as a performer. When I tell you that brother right there is bad. He is bad, and his performance is one of the greatest that I've seen in Vegas, and one of the greatest that I've seen, period, but definitely in Vegas. And so for me to have been in the industry, because I did it last year for 39 years, have been doing The Quiet Storm over 25, and for an artist like Usher to call and want me to be a part of his gig and his thing, it just makes me even more excited 40 years later to continue to do what I'm doing, because it's like I'm in a whole different phase of life.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about it. And since Queen walked in, we even brought Poetic Moments back. I mean, that was one of my favorite feature shows that I did every Thursday night on The Quiet Storm. And it had gone away for years. And then, we brought Passion and Poetry back. I'm like, "Man, we're going to bring Passion and Poetry, but we're going to have to bring some poetry." And so Queen and I had talked maybe a year or so before, and I called her up. I'm like, "Let's go." And, she just signaled ready to go. And the show is back. The show is doing well. And I'm looking forward to doing more of those kinds of things. So the experiences continue.
Man, hold on. Yo, first of all, y'all, Y'all must watch the interview. The link is in the description. That was such a great conversation. How you feeling?
It um so that whole time while we were chatting, and as you'll see, she does most of the talking because that's a history lesson. It's
Mhm.
and sometimes you don't. That's the time that she's supposed to speak and to talk her stuff because she earned it. She deserves it. And Joyce Littel is a prime example of a woman who has a vision and is very clear about her vision and not afraid to go after it.
Mhm.
Right. And so those are the women that push through, that break through, and create opportunities for other people. And as we mentioned earlier, she is going to be Krystal Hill mentioned the Black Women in Radio inaugural 30 being inaugurated into the Library of Congress, and Joyce Littel is part of that inaugural 30.
Mhm.
She is also a Black Radio Hall of Fame inductee
Mhm.
because of it's not just you talking on the air. You have to. It's about creating intellectual property, creating opportunities, creating art, creating spaces for people to come to, for people to relax and release in, and to find love and to create life. To have children and to continue that generational the links, the generational links that we Black people need to have in order to survive. And that is, I think she is the epitome of why Black women in radio are so important.
I absolutely agree. And one of the things that I heard her say in the interview that I absolutely hadn't thought of too is the fact that uh, women, femme folks, naturally nurturing, and that
Yes.
comes through on the radio, right? So that comfortability of hearing these voices giving us this information becomes part of it, right? They're familiar. They remind us of our mothers, sisters, and aunties, right? And Joyce was able to kind of articulate that as well. Like, this is why we are important in this space, in particular for Black folks. So just a dope interview.
But don't let the smooth voice fool you. We party. Do not let the smoothness fool you. Like Joyce, if you've ever been to a Joyce Littel party, a lot of people were just dumbfounded at how hard she would rock, and she would rock on the microphone. Like, just put her on, God rest his soul, DJ Cowboy, DJ Chip, DJ Herb, DJ, yeah, I said DJ Chip. All of those brothers, you put her on the mic with one of them, and it was just the parties, the cruises, the party. I mean, a Joyce Littel party is they definitely went down in history. That is Atlanta history right there.
Yo, listen, Sir Daniel, we just celebrated Black women in radio. And as it is Women's History Month, here on Q Points, yes, it's Women's History Month, but we celebrate Black women every day here. We celebrate, the contributions, the music, the everything. And I'm so happy that we had a chance to do this show. This was dope.
It truly was. Like I said, like we said in the beginning, yes, we dropped the needle on Black music history, and we can't. If we dropping the needle, we got to talk about the people dropping the needle, right?
Right.
And and these women, I'm talking about these women are responsible for um, creating careers,
Hmm.
sustaining careers, and reigniting careers.
Yeah.
Let's be real about it. Radio has really helped along a lot of stars that some of your favorite artists now, you can thank radio, you can thank a Black woman behind the mic for helping to reignite that career or sustain that career.
Mhm.
So it's in our wheelhouse. This is what we do, J Ray. This is part of the Q Points wheelhouse.
Absolutely. So, y'all, make sure that you subscribe to Q Points wherever you listen to your podcast. If you are watching this show, make sure that you subscribe wherever you're watching the show. And you certainly can support us that way. Those are absolutely free. You can subscribe as well if you want to become a member of Q Points to get all the goodies. You can subscribe that way. But certainly, you definitely have free ways to support us. You can just follow our podcast, share our podcast, follow us on YouTube, share our YouTube. And we can't wait to see you next week.
Absolutely. So, J. Ray, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the music play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, y'all.
This has been Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. We will see you on the next go round.